Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the finals. It is game number 3 of 3 between Cognitive Gaming and Team Dignitas, and we are underway. Let's take a look at our teams. This time, they're going to be the blue team, fighting out of the bottom of the minimap in the left side of the spectator UI. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Cognitive Gaming, North America, your 3-time winners, looking for their 4th win in 4 weeks. Barracuda and Dare to Care combining for the Apollo and Odin duo lane, and to stare in the jungle is Freya. MLC Stealth in the mid lane as Ra, and Tyr in the solo as MLC Omega. On the right side of the spectator UI, wearing the red shorts and fighting out of the top of the minimap, they are Team Dignitas. Zapman is going to be combining with Shadow Q for the On-Her Sobek duo lane. Last is in the jungle is Guan Yu. The best is your mid lane, Aoguang. Anatoly is going to be the solo lane as Sun Wukong. So roaming as 5 is Dignitas, placing wards and looking chippy.
It's requiring a lot of self-control for me not to do the raw laugh, because it's one of my favorite things about this game.
Yeah, you got to be a big fan of the
Oh, the trolliness. The trolliness.
You gotta love it. So if you are just joining us, guys, this is week number 4. We're qualifying teams to come to a $100,000 event in Atlanta for a LAN to celebrate the release of the game. March 28th, tickets are available as well for that if you want to come in person and see some Smite. But yeah, so there's a lot on the line here for these teams. Not only is there $1,000 each week on that path to 100K, there's also seed points. And so far in the North American team, COG is the overwhelming favorite, having won first place in all 3 of the first 3 tournaments.
Pretty normal start. Both midfielders are going to go down uncontested. We'll have the blue on the left side going down as well on both ends. Frey is going to start with that red and go straight to the blue and be joined by Tyr. No engagements to speak of yet, but again, you know, same thing. Barracuda going with that double, the tier 2 Heartseeker, and Zapman on the other side going Death's Toll Aussie. So it's worked. It's worked for each of them one game. We'll see what happens this time around.
Yeah, it could be a little bit dangerous. Always fun to look at the right side dual lane here in the short lane as the junglers are still here. It doesn't look like we're going to have any hyper aggressiveness as the archers are going the way of COG in the second wave as it comes rolling through and still force Dignitas back, at least for the moment. Mid lane should be fairly passive. Stealth versus best until Tyr is able to get a blink up and running and start rotating in there. But he's going to be out of the solo lane, so it's going to be really up to Anderson to try to put that pressure on. And I don't think it's quite as effective as Freya as it was on the blink Tyr there. Anatoly in the right side dual lane going to get banished, but nothing too serious going on. As Nietzsche, this game is really just getting underway.
Yeah, and we'll see again some pretty conservative play out of both teams just to start off here. We did see actually look at this, Guan Yu invading into those small Fury camps just to deny a little bit of XP and gain a little bit extra gold for himself. Although he did leave that large gold Fury up specifically, I believe, to not give away the fact that he had gone into that jungle. Ra will get a solar beam on to Les's. Not going to do much as he can just heal that right back up because he is Guan Yu.
Yeah, Guan Yu definitely has that heal built in. It feels pretty good about it. So Omega still, kind of stalling out this mid lane here. I'm sorry, Stealth, and that's going to kill me, the MLCs. But yeah, no, it's Stealth, of course, the mid laner for COG here. But holding out the mid lane pretty well against Aoguang. A little bit behind in mana. Aoguang just so very, very efficient with those tornadoes. In the left side here, take a look at Zapman just really putting the screws to COG, bullying the Apollo and On-Her and landing those auto attacks onto Barracuda here and there. Zapman really playing this one very, very smart and freeing up Sobek to roam pretty much unpunished. You know, COG couldn't even really aggress that very well at all, so Zapman getting a lot of space and a lot of free farm this game.
Yeah, and this is the big problem with that Odin support role is he's just not tanky enough. He's going to take so much damage from Zapman every time he gets hit with one of those spears.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough, I think, for COG to take fights in the early parts of this game. Dignitas' lineup, the Aoguang is just a very strong early game mage with the dodge, doing so much, and Wukong gets a lot of control. They have the more bruisers. They really all around are a little bit more resilient of a early game team. Their late game is a little bit lacking, as it's really going to be a lot in the back of the Zapman for big time late game damage. Lassus, it'll be interesting to see what he does go for in Guan Yu. Probably the more standard Jotun's Wrath and Titan's Bane, kind of pen-based, very bruiser-esque style instead of the Guardian we often see for Guan Yu. But COG, a little bit stronger in the late game, I think, with the Freya. Both Freya and Barracuda scale quite well into the late game. And they have, Tyr for the control. And Dare to Care, honestly, I think Odin is a pretty solid late game style of tank. He's just very resilient and brings some nice control to the fights as well. Plus, he gets a lot of protections from being in his ultimate. He should be able to soak up some nice damage. So it'll be good to see how it works.
Yeah, I definitely think COG is going to have to get out to the late game a little bit before they're going to really take control here. You do see an ult coming out after that whoop, so Lass is going to get taken down to half health. So that Freya Ra combo, always really scary. You land the whoop, and that's a guaranteed hit from the ult. But Lass is just going to go ahead and peace out, go back into his jungle, get farmed up. He has that heal for basically, I mean, it's essentially a free, passive, a couple % heal every few seconds, which is, for a jungler, super duper strong.
Yeah, no, it's quite effective actually. And both of these junglers actually have pretty decent heal. I mean, the as you mentioned, the Freya answer here does have the passive lifesteal, and Lassus on the Guan Yu has the full on heal. So, between the two of them, they're both fairly resilient in terms of being able to stay in the jungle. I think that the current really the most important thing to take a look at on the map here is Zapman sitting at level 6 with quite a nice farm going for himself, 2,800 gold to his name versus Barracuda sitting at level 5. With a couple hundred gold behind. So, some small victories, but in the duo lane, a small victory can really lead to a big snowball effect for your hunter.
Yeah, and that's absolutely thanks to the fact that Shadow Q has been able to kind of free roam over to the right side. We do see that Ao Kuang is going to go down as he gets absolutely ganked by Stealth and Andinster, and there goes Lassus as well as he tries to hold on to that lane and just. And the Freya Ra gank combo is so scary because Ra can pump out once he's got his one pumped up, once he's got his ult off cooldown, he can just pump out so much damage so quickly. But over on the left side, you are going to see Dare to Care going for an ult. He's going to actually just use that to stop them from chasing and jump right out. I don't really know what the point of that was, other than a little bit of positioning control and to get himself to safety.
I think, yeah, he wanted to, basically be able to stall the lane out long enough that they wouldn't lose too much gold to the tower. If a tower hits a lane minion, you lose all the gold from it, you still get the experience. So I think it was worth it to them to get Barracuda, kind of up to his Death Solar's next item there. But yeah, in the mid lane, you get that banish into Ross Knight combination that's just so effective. But really, I mean, in terms of, it's a fairly similar formula for both of the mid laners here, big time ultimate nukes. But you got to think Lassus should be the more effective ganker on Guan Yu, can cover ground so fast and has the AoE stun, whereas Freya has to hit a relatively small banish on a moving target. It's just COG is out executing for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, at this level of play for Andinster, who is just a very, very good Freya, hitting that whoop is not going to be a difficult task, and so you have to remember that Ra is, of course, going to have that healing circle that he can stand in, when he's about to get ulted, and a lot of times he'll drop that, especially when Guan Yu's coming, he will just drop it and stand in the ult, so that and stand in it even and let the ult hit him, so that even if he's going to get stunned momentarily, he'll still be able to maintain his composure and his healing during that time period.
Yeah, he should be pretty good. I mean, yeah, you're right. The Ra combination with the Odin ring, like he'll be very resilient and very, very strong in there. It's going to be a Ra side coming through as Lassus gets banished out. It's going to do a nice bit of damage, from 425 to be exact. He doesn't have a way out of this, but they're going to have to fight him inside of the Ao Kuang tornadoes. It doesn't matter. They still combine for it. Pretty easy kill, all things considered, on to Guan Yu. And I think that, this may be a situation where Dignitas has spent a little bit too much equity in the draft on counterpicking and reducing COG's options, that they may not be that comfortable here with what they have. And I think, once again, maybe the second time today, the first game and the last game, we're going to see, a nice Odin pick to punish a low mobility team.
Yeah, and really it was an excellent rotation from Odin to come over there and be able to catch him out of position. There are 4 over in left lane, though, for Cognitive, as Zapman getting very low. Freya goes into the air for the ult and is able to finish off Zapman, not a problem. So really good rotations coming out from COG. They are moving as a unit and hitting really hard with precision. Yeah,
they are. They are. This is looking a lot more like the second game than the first at this point. Looks like Lassus is going to be in some trouble yet again. Banish is going to miss, thankfully for him, as he dashes out of there. So he's gonna get out of there pretty good. Now it's going to look like it's going to be COG for the disengage. Anatoly pinned under towers. Omega has pushed the lane up pretty well over there on Solo Island. And that's going to be that for the moment, at least as we approach 8 minutes elapsed. COG up 4 kills, ladies and gentlemen. Not a big gold advantage, but it's just really more of a problem that they do have what's going to be the better kind of late game. So as long as they can continue this early small advantage and find a way to win the mid game, where Dignitas should have the strength with their more bruisers, it could potentially be a very, very, very strong game for COG. On the other side of that kind of coin, Dignitas really needs to look to set up those ganks with Lassus and the best, it should be a fairly easy procedure to go ahead and get a stun out into an Algwong ultimate for Dignitas, but they just haven't been able to put that together. The other bright side here is that Zapman is getting very, very good farm on the on her, and this could make their ability to transition from their strength period of kind of the mid game into the early late game even better if Zapman is ahead substantially of Barracuda.
Yeah, I will also say that Andinster is doing an excellent job of keeping stealth safe, right? He's never too far away, and so every time Lassus tries to kind of come in and interdict, he's right there to help out. We do see a nice rotation coming from the right lane. Anatoly coming in to try and get Andinster. There is the ult from the Ao Kuang. It's going to land, but not going to be enough to get the kill, as Andinster is able to get into his ult and get out of the way. Anatoly's going to have to use his ult to secure his own safety, but here comes Shadow Q on to Dare to Care and Omega. Dare to Care is going to drop his ult and get absolutely destroyed by the Zapman ult in the process.
Oh, it's a three-man.
But, oh my goodness, that was so strong. Stealth with the ult. That was absolutely beautiful, and this is going to turn really quickly in Cog's favor.
What a wonderful play that was by Cognitive there. The three-man Fearless into knock-up into Raw Beam. Just so well executed. Barracuda going to try to secure a kill on the best here. Best doing his best as he can to juke the auto attacks. If you don't play Smite, Smite is a third-person game, so you have to hit all these in hands. It's not just 3 hits. And Barracuda misses just enough to get out of there. Now Zapman wanted to man up on Anastar, but he's going to pay for his life as he dashes through. Doesn't matter because Barracuda's going to be able to catch up to him. Auto attack with the passive. Coming out too fast for Zapman to dodge. And down he will go, overstaying his welcome. Great plays there.
That was just... I'm still kind of jaw on the floor with that Fearless,
the
man. That was
insane.
Oh, the Fearless, so good.
Yeah, I mean, that was really gross. And so if you miss what happened there, was that Tyr has an ability where he grabs people and pushes them along with him and then knocks them up, and he managed to land that onto 3, and it's a fairly small kind of area that you can grab. So they were a little too stacked up, and then it was just good reactions there by MLC Stealth, turning around with the raw snipe and putting it through them, and they get a lot of kills out of that pretty easily, now up 8-1.
I mean, and it's almost the fault of the Odin. When with that ring up, he had his teammates trapped in there as well. And so when Anatoly came in, I'm sorry, not when Anatoly came in, when Omega, came into with the the stun and the knockup, it was so easy for him to just straight line 3 people because they were all just sitting there waiting to get out of the ring.
Yeah, it's. Whew. The ability of Cognitive to split up the team fight at this point, and I think it was the same reason they were looking at Amir is the same reason they're looking here now at another snipe coming through his best. They're piling on him yet again. Nothing he can do about that. He avoided the Fearless, but then got hit by the Banish. Now they're going to ring in Lassus, and as we mentioned before, there's no way for him to get out of this. They're going to put all the damage into him. Crashing in comes Barracuda as well as the Apollo. AoE damage starting to come out. And Dignitas is having a hard time keeping up in terms of damage output. Now they're going to chase on to Zapman. They've knocked him up. They're not going to let him jump over. Now he can jump over, but just solo. Anastar in the back line misses the Banish, and Zapman going to get closed on in the back of this fight. Guan Yu down, on her down. Shadow Q forced to run from this one. Sun Wukong in the mid lane going to get controlled by Omega. A lot of damage coming out there as well. And I would imagine that Cog's going to be looking for Gold Fury here in the next few minutes, but it looks like they're going to go deep here for Sobek. Look at Anastar's positioning on the other side of the tower. Now going to make his way through, throws the Banish out, throws the in-hand, and that is going to be a nice little kill onto Sobek there for Cog. They're going to take the tower instead, perhaps, here, Nietzsche. They may be able to get both, in fact, as they're looking really, really strong as the early game's ending here.
Yeah, and they're still only up about 3K gold, so it's certainly not outside the the realm of victory for Dignitas, but it is not looking good there. The team fights are not going their way. The rotations are really strong from Cognitive, and the one thing that we saw in a couple of these recent engagements is Cognitive's ability to keep composure even when a couple skills go wrong or a couple initiates go wrong for them is far above and beyond Dignitas, it seems. Dignitas gets in a bad position and they immediately kind of spread out, break up, and retreat, and don't get that reversal. And you see a lot of reversals in these fights coming out of Cognitive, and that is by far what's kind of keeping them in the lead at this point. Yeah,
it's the ability. We're kind of getting out there before. The ability to break up the team fight is really strong for them. They're looking at the Amir with the wall. They get the ring. They have Tyr. They can reposition. They have the Freya Banish. They have a lot of. It's kind of a weird thing to call it, but they have a lot of just physical CC, just the ability to put you where they want you to be, or really prevent you from going where they want to through banishes and walls instead of just normally CC. So here
it is again.
Lassus and Shadow Q, they're going to eat a lot of this Barracuda damage as he comes in. They have Freya throwing in nukes, out long ultimate coming through as well. Nearly enough to do some damage, but just barely missing. There's Fury ripping through from Zapman now, but Barracuda's going to be okay there. Stealth does miss his first snipe of the game, but when it's 13 minutes in, it's not so bad. And down will fall the Honor as well. A 3-man wipe this time. Dignitas doesn't look like they really know what to do now. They continue trying to aggress where they can, but it just hasn't really been enough at any stage of this early game. And now, as I kind of mentioned earlier, they don't have as good of a late game team either. Their timing they really want to be hitting is starting here in about the next 4 or 5 minutes, where they're going to be very, very strong and tanky with all these bruisers. But if Cognitive has this massive level advantage and gold and damage advantage, those bruisers aren't going to really mean squat. And that's what we're seeing here. It's going to be very, very hard for them to overcome what is now a 7,000 gold and 12,000 experience advantage.
Yeah, and like we said, that sort of separation that they're creating is exactly what is destroying Dignitas. There's the whoop and the ult, and I'm totally able to dodge that very well by sneaking into bird form just as he lands. But I don't think it's going to make much of a difference here, as Cog is going to rotate to the right to get those mid-furies, and Dignitas is going to have to figure out something to do, because they've gone very, very quickly from 3k gold down to 9k gold down.
Yeah, and now it's just going to get worse here as Cognitive continues to kind of exert their will over the map, and they start pressuring towers. I mean, unless they totally misplay this and try to now get to a farm war where Dignitas still has a good chance of hitting that 20-minute timing they're going to be looking for. It's going to really start turning more and more towards Cog, as you can see over here in the left lane. Look at Barracuda just pressuring Zapman, popping sprint, forcing out a leap, and now Zapman can immediately be forced to recall, and that's just more free farm for Barracuda, pulling more ahead, already 3 levels ahead. So hard for Zapman to stay in the lane.
Yeah, and he did have some good farm early on, but it's been completely shut down at this point, so there's not much he can do, to really contribute. You see him ulting in, but not actually getting much accomplished with those ults, and winding up even typically in a bad position, because they're going to know he's going to, when he lands, he's not going to do much damage, so they just kind of stand there and take it, and then turn on him as soon as he lands, because you are vulnerable for just a brief moment as you come down off of that Apollo ult.
So Dare to Care is going just the very standard style of support build here. It's going to be Watcher's Gift, Midas Boots, into Sovereignty. So nothing fancy because he's an Odin. It's the same old, same old. He's just a guardian, big beefy guardian with a nice ring for his ultimate. Nothing too fancy here. Not going to see any blink initiation or anything out of the ordinary coming from him. So that's also, I guess it's important to note that he doesn't have that blink available to him. So Dare to Care is going to be a little bit less effective at initiating here. Annister has called out Lassus in the jungle, and if Lassus eats too much of this, it's going to be problems for Annister. We're going to see the ultimate coming out here from Lassus to try to avoid this, but it's going to be an ultimate as well, and it doesn't really matter because Annister just does too much damage, and Stealth and Annister combine for an easy kill there on the Guan Yu, and Lassus just does not seem comfortable on Scott.
Yeah, not at all. I think this is very much a counter pick against giving Guan to Cognitive, and as a result, they've got essentially, what amounts to a half effective player.
Yeah, that's right. And look at that split coming out to avoid the best ultimate. Great coordination. Dare to Care drops the ring, and they split very nicely for it. That's another thing Odin brings to the table that's definitely one of his most overlooked properties. He has an AoE attack speed buff, really the only one in the game. And so in a push lineup with Ra and Apollo, he does really, really well. And so, even though Cog hasn't necessarily been, you wouldn't say that they've been very push-centric this game. It's really been more about picks. They have massive opportunity to just go through Dignitas' towers here. And in fact, Dignitas is going to notice that, and they're going to say, let's throw the towel on this one as
it is.
21 kills to 1.
Goodness.
I mean, the one death is on Dare to Care, goes 1-1 and 13. 8 kills on Annister, 5 kills on Stealth, 7 on Barracuda.
Oh,
Tough game for Dignitas there. I mean, they do so well in game number 1 and then just can't find that same momentum for 2 or 3.
Yep. The adaptation from Cognitive is huge. This is kind of what separates the men from the boys, is being able to take your loss on the chin and say, you know what, we don't care. We're going to come back and beat you up in the next game and the one after that. And they did exactly that. So kudos to Cognitive. They take the 4th week in a row. That is all 4 weeks for Cognitive Gaming.
We're getting close to the point where they're going to be mathematically clinching here.
One more, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they win one more, I think they guarantee themselves 1st seed. I think they already have guaranteed themselves a seed at this point. So it's a pretty nice way to feel, I imagine, if you're Cognitive. I mean, you have a guaranteed bid to a $100,000 tournament.
Yeah.
And they've done it off of just completely dominating the North American scene. Yeah. Dignitas looked shaky there. I mean, and honestly, it was you don't. I guess you don't really necessarily expect Lassus' Guan Yu to be that strong. We don't normally see him play it, and it didn't really come together for him. And I think that the best here, Cognitive was very smart about just piling onto him in both games that they won. They just kept him completely out of the game with ganks. And even though Dignitas had basically the same thing going on, right? The Raw Snipe and Frail Whoop is roughly the same combination as Guan Yu and Aoguang. But honestly, Guan Yu is a little bit easier to land than the Banish. So I feel like the gank should have been coming out a little bit heavier on the mid from Dignitas to try to turn that one.
Yeah, absolutely. The Guan Yu ult is so strong with the stun, especially you can initiate on 2 people or even 3 people and not have as big of a worry because you can stun them all out if the positioning is not great. But with Freya kind of always present, ever present, it didn't work out quite as they had hoped.
So taking a final look at the damage numbers here, we'll give you the top player damager in the game. This game was the 11K on Freya. So Anister making his damage be known, 10K coming out of Barracuda, both of them outclassing the Raw, which is